welcome, various whatever he does. I'm Alexander Gordon Johannes. Still here. Still here. So, yesterday, things are kind of, stuff is happening at home. Not big crisisy stuff, just stuff. And that means that I've been distracted and blah 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 blah. You don't care. But I have been reading up this book, Neurotribes, and kind of Neurotribes is a very interesting book, but every sort of chapter is just like, and here is another way in which neurotypical people are fucking awful to autistic people. So I always have to now follow it up with a chapter from Owen Jones's Chavs, which is just kind of standard anti-neoliberal, woo the workers sort of stuff. So it's a nice sort of cool down after getting worked up about fucking neurotypicals. But last night things sort of, well, they weren't bad, really. It was just more like I had a realization last night that has kind of made me think about things. So we're going to talk about what happens once the tipping point of capitalism's demise occurs. Because the thing is that neoliberalism is killing capitalism. Neoliberalism, for those who don't know, it's basically capitalism, but without brains, right? Capitalism is this idea that humans are greedy and we're stupid, so the way that you achieve great societal good is by having a system of exchange that incentivizes work, right? And I actually think that kind of workers' rights, unions, stuff like that, that's part of the capitalistic system when it is functioning, because it is placing further financial incentives to keep the system running correctly. But basically, neoliberalism said, hey, we want to make more money, we want to treat workers like shit so we don't have to pay them. And we want to make more money, make more profit, we just want to chase profit, we don't want to have to give a fuck, we don't want any regulations getting in the way. And neoliberalism basically succeeded in taking over a lot of the West and saying, hey guys, we're not going to have regulations, we're not going to control things, we're just going to let things fly. You know, this idea of laissez-faire capitalism. You know, that you would have a night watchman state which just basically looks after the police and the army and fuck everybody else. I mean, yeah, you know, we didn't quite get that bad yet. We are not quite at a point where the state has been so stripped back that it is just the army and the police force. But it's cut a lot. A lot of things have been privatized, a lot of things have been cut back, a lot of things have been deregulated, and this has caused an awful lot of problems. This has, in fact, put the country, and many different countries, into a staggering amount of debt. When I'm not just here to say, Margaret Thatcher and Tony Blair, they're fucking awful, right? I'm here to say that neoliberalism isn't going to go anywhere for the moment. And that's the problem. Because neoliberalism is stupid. I like capitalism. I think capitalism is wonderful when it works, but neoliberalism is capitalism being stupid. Neoliberalism is capitalism without the restraints, without the regulation, without the incentives to keep the system fucking running okay. So now we're in a situation whereby we've fucked everything, right? And we are in the process of fucking everything. And we are, in the coming decades, going to see all these consequences of neoliberal stupidity piling up, accelerating, and getting bad. And all while this is happening, climate change and technological unemployment are quietly ticking away in the background. Okay. And the thing is that so many people on the left and the right are just ignorant about the genuine threat that technological unemployment has to play in the sort of the capitalistic economy, right? They are genuinely ignorant because, one, you don't want to be a Luddite, do you? And two, well, there'll always be jobs, right? Even the left is like, well, there'll always be bullshit jobs. No, actually, like, even if there are a minority of areas where humans will be more advantageous or will be able to do stuff, right? There's 7 billion people on the planet, okay? How are they going to all get employed in these niche jobs? Answer, they aren't. But so far, everybody is just sticking their fingers in their ears going, ah! And like, the closest plan we've got is universal basic income, which is basically, what do we do when there aren't enough jobs to keep capitalism going? Well, we'll just print money and give it to everyone so that we can sort of artificially keep capitalism going. And what this will do is this will buy time. That's all it's going to do, right? We need to think about what happens once this has run its course. Once the few remaining jobs are automated or are done for free. Like what happens at that point? Because bear in mind, right, when the vast majority of people, when the people who drive trucks and work in the service industry, when they no longer have to work anymore and they have infinite free time, like, you can be an incredibly pessimistic right-wing person who believes that most people are scroungers who won't give a shit, and if they don't have to work, that they won't work. Like, even if you are someone who believes that just 1 in 10 people will go out to find some way to contribute to society in an age of universal basic income, there are going to be millions, billions of people who won't be able to get a job, who will be reliant on universal basic income. So that is a whole lot of people who are going to be working for free, without financial incentive, just because they want to fucking do something. And now suddenly that tiny minority of jobs don't look secure after all. Because this is the other thing about the economy, right? The cascade effect. It's all very well saying, well, these jobs will remain. But what happens when 90% of the industry no longer exists anymore because so many people have been taken out of work that there isn't money going back into the system? Like, people are going to become unemployed. Like, it's just gonna happen. And you're going to be competing against people who are doing this work for free. And because they're doing it for free, they're passionate about it. Right? If you are going to work for free on something, you're passionate about it. You're genuinely putting your heart and soul into it. So guess what? You're gonna be better than the people who are working because it's a fucking paycheck. So we are going to reach a tipping point where capitalism is going to be dying, and everybody's going to know it's going to be dying, and there won't be a replacement system, right? Now, so far, the left are the only people with a plan. Like, the right think they have a plan called universal basic income, but that's just a stopgap, right? What are you thinking? That, you know, when robots have automated all of society and there is nobody left to do anything, that you're still gonna give people money? How is money gonna be relevant? You're gonna find people who are just gonna be like, no, you know what, I'm not even gonna do anything with this money. I don't need to. I have machines that can grow and harvest food and turn it into hamburgers or whatever without me doing anything. Why would I give a fuck about your bollocks? Like, and you know, people are saying, oh, well, maybe we will change over to a lifestyle whereby everybody's just making creative content, because maybe ideas are the future. People work on ideas stuff for free because they like it, right? 90% of the people who make Let's Plays do so because they want to make Let's Plays. You know, how many people have made films, have written books that nobody gives a toss about, right? Just because they want to go out there and be passionate about the stuff. Now, yeah, there's going to be an appetite for the big stuff. And therefore there is going to be a massive collaborative effort involved to make this stuff. And I can see some sort of way that a UBI to a very minor extent might keep going on just to make sure Disney films keep going on. The BBC keeps making Doctor Who or whatever. Like that's got half a chance. Except it's not in isolation, is it? It has to be part of a wider system. And what's happening to the wider system? I've talked about the economy. But society isn't ready. It's not just politicians and economists and economists who are like, oh no, there'll always be jobs. Like, society as a whole isn't ready. Okay? We aren't ready for this. You know, I'm someone who is a futurist, who has been reading up on post-scarcity, on technological unemployment, and I am also someone who has spent the last 2 years unemployed, and I can't stand it. I cannot fucking stand it. And yeah, you can argue that it's just that, hey, I grew up being told I would have a job. I'm used to the idea of having a job, that humans can adapt. And yeah, I think that's probably right. But if I'm having trouble with this stuff, how fucking hard do you think it's gonna be for people who have spent decades of their lives working? You know, I went to school, I went to college, I went to university, and then I failed to get a job, and I failed to get a job for the last 2 years, and it's hell. It's absolute hell. I shudder to think how fucking hellish it would be if you have spent 2 decades working, and then it's like, hey guys, we can't afford to have work anymore. So yeah, UBIs for everyone. Sit at home. doing whatever, we don't care. So really, I think that it's not going to be a case of capitalism dies, yay FkZdX5mz6iw. I think we're gonna have a good few sort of wilderness years, decades, when nobody really has a fucking clue what's going on. We're gonna see a sort of new hippie culture snapback as all of these people just embrace hedonism and are just like, yeah, legal drugs, man, yeah, free love, polyamory, be whatever you want to be, man. And we're also going to have right to die clinics so that all these old people who just can't hack the new world, all these people who've spent their whole lives working and they can't do it anymore, and they're like, oh, look at those scroungers and whatever, but I can't deal with this, that they can just kill themselves. And like, we are going to see rates of suicide skyrocket because, that's what happens when society changes radically over the course of 5 years or so. Like, when this happens, it's gonna happen fast, right? The changeover from capitalism, everything is normal, to oh shit, UBI, I guess we're in this world now, is gonna be very, very quick indeed. Like, maybe if you have a small country that's already got a lot of socialism and make work programs, maybe you'll do okay for a bit. But if you're a big country with lots of neoliberalism, with lots of laissez-faire and deregulation, the jobs are just gonna go. They are just gonna go. And we're kind of hoping and assuming, well, the universal basic income is going to be implemented, but it could be a decade or more before the Conservatives or whoever the neoliberal people are in charge say, oh shit, we've got a problem, let's put in UBI, right? I mean, one would hope that if the majority, that if say 50% of jobs disappear, that the government would, notice and input UBI. But what we may genuinely just witness is that people just flood onto the welfare lines and they get reclassified as disabled just to survive, right? And to a certain extent, they might be fucking disabled. Right? And I don't just mean, oh, well, people might actually genuinely be disabled at this time. I mean that, like, I've spent 2 years without a job, and it's done my head in, right? I think that once we reach this tipping point, there are genuinely going to be a lot of people who just aren't going to cope. And it's going to be like shell shock. It's just going to be genuine post-traumatic stress from seeing their whole world just crumble overnight, right? And the thing is that right now, for me, I had a plan. I had hopes, dreams, and aspirations. And now it's like my parents are divorcing. I have no clue about whether I'm going to get a job. I'm probably going to be living on benefits for a while. And I have no clue where I'm going to be living or how I'm going to be living. And it's all just kind of up in the air, with my family just saying, oh, don't worry, you'll be okay. Somehow you'll be okay. And, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And I can just barely imagine how fucking terrifying it's gonna be if you are one of those people who sees their job go along with most of the other people due to technological unemployment, and the government has no fucking clue what to do. No fucking clue what to do. Because the thing is that, like, people like Owen Jones are still talking about workers' rights, unions, yeah! And it's like, dudes, workers aren't going to be around much longer. Workers are an endangered species right now. Excuse me. Where was I? Ah, yes. Politicians and people being stupid about this. So, a large part of the reason why people are going to be so shocked is that basically politicians and powerful media figures have for some time been genuinely, powerfully, naively ignorant on this subject. When questioned about technological unemployment, their answer has always been to get better educated. To get better educated. And, you know, that seems kind of noble and amiable. Like, yeah, get better educated. Being better educated is good and it'll help you race against the machine. Except it won't. Because actually, a lot of the jobs you need a degree for also are going to suffer technological unemployment. It's not like the thing about this assumption that getting better educated will help you beat the machine is this idea that machines are dumb. No. Machines are very intelligent. Machines are far smarter than we are. They have faster reaction times. They can access a greater database of knowledge than we ever could. It's just that they can't do the things us humans can do so easily and intuitively, right? But the programming is getting better. The sensors and technology required to help them do these things that so far only humans can do is getting better. So, yeah, what we've ended up with is what we're going to end up with is an incredibly well-informed and well-educated unemployed majority. Okay? And this is going to create problems, right? Because neoliberalism has already landed most Western countries' governments in a massive amount of debt, right? And it's done so because deregulation has allowed these stupid neoliberals to take loads of dangerous risks with the knowledge that then the governments would come along and bail them out with taxpayer money. And now all these governments are in a massive amount of debt, and they face a problem of a large amount of old people who can't contribute to society, and an increasingly large amount of well-educated people who can't get a job. This is bad. This is very, very bad. And this is going to be compounded by the problems of climate change and of all these desperate people from all these other countries who, oh, by the way, are also about to be rendered unemployed. Because we in the West are seeing our jobs diminish. In China and all these other poorer countries that all of these, you know, massive corporations move their factories offshore to, well, they're reaching a point now where they are about to shift from a manufacturing base, because basically manufacturing is about to be completely automated, or 99.99% automated. And that means they aren't going to need all these factories in all these different countries. And at the same time, all these factories in all these different countries there's a lot of people there who are like, hey, fuck it, we want better rights and stuff. which means that there's going to be greater incentive to move over to automation. And what are all these masses of people in these countries that have been doing automation gonna do, considering that we in the West are already at the point where we don't know what we're gonna do? You know, at least America grew up. Grew up. Yes, America the toddler grew up so fast. But America, when it was expanding and developing, right, it had a chance to do so in the sweet spot as technological unemployment was adding value and allowing a changeover from mechanization towards service industry jobs. But now we're at the point where service industry jobs are about to be destroyed. At the point where automation is about to get rid of lorry drivers and what have you. Where most of the jobs done by most of the people in the West are about to be automated away. So if you're in China and you've been working all your life, you know, grinding away at some horrid manufacturing factory job, then you're kind of even more fucked, because you're not a rich country with the infrastructure to transfer over into a different kind of way. It's like they're decades behind, and now they have got to leapfrog not just up to our level, but to the point where we need to be as well, right? You know, we're lagging behind where we should be, and so the countries that have lagged behind us have got an even steeper challenge. Plus, these are the countries that have got so many more people within them because they've had far more jobs, and poorer countries tend to have larger demographics, and so there are going to be a large amount of desperate people from these countries looking at the West going, well, they have a better life, and they are going to come. And it doesn't matter what kind of walls you put up. I mean, in my darkest moments, I genuinely imagine some great huge wall with machine gun emplacements or something. But they're people. They aren't the fucking White Walkers. They're going to find ways. We have planes. We have spaceships, for fuck's sake. And you're thinking that a fucking wall will stop them? We have boats and planes and spaceships and tunnels. And you think that a fucking wall is going to stop the desperate? We've been keeping going so far because things aren't quite broken yet. They're breaking, not broken yet. So the rich people are okay. And they're telling everyone everything's okay. You know, even the left-wing people are saying, hey guys, don't riot, don't have revolutions. Oh, you anti-fascists, you're evil people because you take it too far. You know, we are in this kind of honeymoon period where things are going to shit, but everybody's saying, calm down, it'll be fine. It's not going to be fine. Our governments are already in debt, and things are about to get a whole lot worse. We've already seen the rise of fascism, and we've already now seen the first concentration camp open in Chechnya for gay people. I think that, to a certain extent, fascism is going to seem more and more reasonable from a political perspective, because we've got all these old people. We've got all these unemployed people. We have a tiny amount of jobs. Some stupid person is bound to say, why don't we just kill the old people? Why don't we just kill the people we don't like? Whittle down the population to what we like, right? It's going to seem like a nice narrative to a certain kind of person. Indeed, it may even be seen as an opportunity, an excuse, right? There's too many people, we don't have enough jobs, so we kill everyone we don't like. Except the problem is that we live in an age of 3D printers. We live in an age of incredibly smart unemployed people who outnumber the rich and the politicians. I have been saying for quite some time, ban the guns, it's not worth it. Except we are at a point when it's going to be fairly easy to 3D print your own damn gun. And it might only be able to fire off 1 or 2 shots before it breaks, but you've got an untraceable gun that you can make any time you feel like it, given you have the resources. So there's 2 ways this can go. One way is that you have a full-on civil war, violent revolution. The other way is that governments realize this danger and they say, hey, universal basic income, let's keep the peace, keep the peace, keep the peace. And they hurriedly rush out a whole load of anti-terror laws that actually are used to make sure nobody considers putting these 3D printed guns together. And indeed, I think terrorist attacks of one definition or another are going to become more and more likely. I think that after a certain period of uncertainty, but yes, after a certain period of time when things are kind of chaotic and nobody knows what the fuck is going on, you are going to see different countries taking different tacts. Some countries are going to be completely in denial. They're just going to say, capitalism will save us, neoliberalism will save us. Some countries are going to say, socialism will save us, communism will save us. And some countries are going to say, fascism will save us. But I think that in the West, what we are going to see a lot more of is capitalism throwing out the emergency parachute of universal basic income, right? And if it's not universal basic income, it will be stretching the welfare services to effectively function as one. And what we are going to see then, once the parachutes have been deployed, is that drugs will be legalized. Or if they're not outright legalized, they're going to be decriminalized, they're going to be ignored, and people are just going to do drugs, they're just going to drink, there's going to be a lot more sex, a lot more casual relationships. There is going to be... Basically, at the moment, there is this whole free speech versus don't be offended thing that's going on. Well, I think basically what we're going to witness is a coalescing of just like freedom of presentation, right? That it's like, yeah, you can say whatever the fuck you like, but equally, if you say that to someone's face, they have the right to punch you because, hey, they have freedom of presentation, freedom of representation, freedom to be whoever the fuck they are, right? And yeah, that's gonna be some fairly standard stuff of, like, you know, trans people, gender fluid people. But we are also just gonna see, like, furries saying, fuck it, I'm a furry, I like to be this way, fuck it. You know, we're gonna see the increasing tolerance of BDSM, and, you know, people coming out as with all kinds of odd fetishes because fuck it, right? We're living in the end times, fuck it. And because basically when the government is in debt and they're trying to keep the peace, and at the same time they're facing tensions from abroad, and they're trying to desperately work something out, like they're gonna need ways to keep people docile, and increasing tolerance is gonna be part of that. But I think it could be several decades once we have entered this sort of deathbed capitalism phase before anybody has any fucking idea what to do beyond it, right? The issue may not even be that this form of deathbed capitalism isn't sustainable. It may just be that humans can't fucking agree on what to do. That they don't have a clue. That they're still naively going, oh, capitalism somehow. Communism somehow. Workers' rights somehow. But I feel like we are inevitably going to end up in this chaotic mess of chaos, of just countries not realizing there's a problem until it slaps them in the face, having to hurriedly rush out some kind of measures to avoid revolution, and then being faced with the question of, right, okay, we've staved off revolution temporarily, what the fuck do we do now? Because I don't think we are going to be able to answer the question of technological unemployment and post-scarcity until the majority of the world is living its effects. I just don't think it's possible, because the left doesn't care and the right doesn't care. Because why would they care about it when we've got a general election, we've got Brexit, we've got Scottish independence, when we've got Trump, and we've got what's going on in Chechnya, and the fascists, and neoliberalism is dying, and what the fuck, right? Like, why would they care about technological unemployment with all these different things happening at the same time? So they're only going to care when the shit really hits the fan. And that means that when the shit hits the fan, it's gonna be bad. And I don't know when the shit is gonna hit the fan, really. But I think that we aren't so far from it, right? Because the thing people don't get is that, you know, just like 10% of debts that were in America and the world weren't paid back when the financial crisis happened that pulled the world into recession, right? That was just 10% of debts not being paid back. So we are going to witness massive change relatively quickly, because all of this chipping away by technological unemployment, it doesn't need to do much in order to trigger a cascade, right? All it needs to do is increase enough of the surplus unemployed people that it decreases the spending pool available on disposable income and on companies, right? And then you're going to start to see a cascade, because there's going to be more people out of work, more people with less disposable income. More people with less disposable income means less disposable income being spent on this stuff. More companies go out of business, more companies go out of business, more people are unemployed, more companies go out of business, and things are just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And of course, what we're already seeing is that right-wing companies, right-wing politicians and media use austerity, use harsh times, economic crashes, recessions as excuses to lower how much money is given out to the welfare state, to lower how much money is given out to people who are unemployed. Which means that you are taking a bad situation and you are making it worse. Because now these people who have had their ability to contribute to the economy drastically slashed already are going to have it slashed again and again and again. So the economy is going to get affected again and again and again, and the companies that survive are going to do so because they rush through technological unemployment in order to cut overheads. Which means that things are going to get worse, worse, and worse, and worse, until even the minority of rich fuckers can no longer make money. And I am hoping we reach a point before things get really bad, when the government says, hey, you know what, we're going to implement universal basic income, or if not universal basic income, we're going to up the money going towards unemployed people, and we're going to just, accept this is a thing for the moment at least, But yeah, things are going to get a whole lot bad before they get any better. Anyway, I'll see you later. Hey. Thank you for watching my main channel. Please remember to leave a like, favourite and comment. Shout out to the dislike club. Subscribe if you like what you saw, and share if you know someone who might be interested in the contents of this video. If you would like to help ensure more videos get made, there are a few options available to you. You can whitelist this channel in your adblock software to ensure what ad revenue you provide has a chance of making its way to me. If you sign up to make a regular monthly donation through my Patreon, then you will get to watch a selection of videos available exclusively to my Patreon supporters over at my Patreon page. One-off donations are payable through PayPal, or if that doesn't suit your sensibilities, you can gift items through Steam or Amazon via my public wish lists. Obviously, I don't expect anything, and the vast majority of my videos will remain free and ad-supported. All that remains is to say Trump should be impeached, the genocidal must be stopped, and institute universal basic income now.